Alrighty.
Oh,
Great.
it's me.
Yeah, so we'll give it a minute while people are funneling in to the session. We'll give them a quick minute. But welcome everyone, and get comfortable, although we're all virtual. Great.
It's not there.
I will.
All right, so yeah, why don't we kick it off, and then people will funnel in as we get going. Hello everyone, and welcome to the final session of the Neota Network. The last but certainly not least. Definitely not. Yeah, you're our closers. There's this saving the best.
The pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. But thank you to everyone who's joined us the past 2 days. A lot of great content, a lot of good stuff to replay. But we wanted to sort of end with a live session, a session that we've been peppering out throughout the whole Neotologic, and we wanted to end it with some people who could speak directly to the platform, to use cases, who have been using the platform for a while as well. So yeah, this session is going to be a live fireside chat about citizen development in the law firm setting. I know a lot of the attendees either work closely with law firms or are in law firms. So we thought it would be appropriate to do that. So since it's a fireside chat, I've actually prepared this time, unlike the talk with Scott Rextoffen, we now have a proper fireside.
Oh,
whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, that's realistic.
Right, but I'm not even going to tell you how long it took me to get this going. So if it's too distracting, I'll move it back. But here's a little.
No, I like it. It's very comforting.
Yeah.
Good, right. And we're going into the evening now, well, depending on where you are. So this is
Yeah. You have a nice glass of wine. That would look good. Yeah.
Exactly. Great. So today we're going to be speaking with Stephen Chan, who is the Director of Knowledge Solutions at Womble Bond Dickinson, and as well Melanie Segraves, who's the Knowledge Management Solutions Analyst. So why don't, before we jump in, Stephen, Melanie, why don't you give us a little bit about your background and a little bit about your experience with Neota. Melanie, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I had already told Stephen he had to go first,
Okay.
but
Stephen, you're up. Yeah.
now that that's ruined, no, so my name is Melanie. I guess we established that. I've worked at Womble Bond Dickinson for almost 6 years. And the first 3 years I was in the client development department on the marketing team. And doing a little bit of everything, like local market strategy, and then a lot of proposal writing. And then about 2 years ago, I decided to make the move over to KM. And this is kind of my first, has been my first, I'm gonna say like technical role. So this is the first role where I'm focusing a lot on technology solutions. And first for me ever. Yeah, my background is mostly sales and marketing, but now I use Neotologic every day. So awesome. It's been a good transition for me. We have been also sort of, I won't go into too much detail now, but we've also sort of seen the transition with Neotologic. It started out just doing really small basic things, and we're kind of like exploding a little bit since COVID. So we've just kind of gone Neota crazy. So
crazy. That's a first one for
Neota, a little Neota crazy.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, Melanie.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I wanted to use one of those memes of how, those memes is like how it started, how's it going?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And this is, yeah. I think that's us. How it's going is just like this.
Yeah, and that's Neota crazy.
Neota crazy. All right, go ahead, Stephen.
So yeah, I'm Stephen Chan. I've been at Womble for almost 5 years now. I have my background is in a lot of education and teaching and learning, and I am a lawyer but I haven't practiced in many years. But I am also a librarian.
He has a lot of degrees.
Yeah, so I did that for several years. But I, like Melanie, none of my education or training or any of that stuff was related to development, like no formal training in development. Always had an interest in computers, technology, those kind of things. I guess I kind of wanted to be a developer, and Neota has really given both of us, an opportunity to kind of get into that, whether it's a low code or a no code kind of solution. But we've really been able to start getting into that kind of realm of thinking like a developer. So that's pretty exciting. Me personally, I've always enjoyed puzzles and figuring things out. And that's kind of what Neota allows me to do on a personal level, is just to kind of figure things out. So I've enjoyed it quite a bit. And ever since I've been at the firm, I would say within 6 months, maybe less than a year, we started working with Neota. I think our boss, Bill Cook, kind of maybe met one of you all at some sort of conference, and maybe ILTA or some of the KM1 in New York, and kind of brought it back to us. And he kind of put it on my desk and said, figure it out. So we had ideas of what we wanted it to do. We were really excited about the idea of doing expert systems, and having that as a toolbox, or a tool in our toolbox that we could use. And so I was just kind of given the reins to kind of figure it out. So I did spend a lot of time, going through your academy and building the training apps, to working with other internal stakeholders to kind of figure out what we could possibly use this platform for. So we've been probably using the platform for, I'd say 4 years or so.
Actually, I can remember the first workshop that we did over at Womble, about 4 years ago. Yeah. So that's fantastic. And actually, why don't we jump right in? It'd be great to hear about just some of the solutions that you've worked on in the past, and some of the things that you've been able to spin up and build out.
Yeah, I'll start out. Like Melanie kind of mentioned, we started out with the idea of expert systems. We didn't really know what that would be, or what kind of system we would build, and so that was quite difficult to kind of get traction on that. And so then we started thinking about document automation. We liked Neota because it had the expert system component, but also could do document automation. So we started out with very simple things like engagement letters, not super complex type of things, but using the platform to automate those kind of documents. And we did a lot of that for a while. We also used, I don't know how many people on this understand it, but we were using reusable logic to, batch automate hundreds of documents at a time, maybe importing documents or data in from an Excel spreadsheet, and then just generating hundreds of documents. And so that was very popular. But now we're growing, although our team is not really growing. Well, we grew 50%. So at some point,
that's a big growth. Yeah.
So 100% diverse.
Yeah, and we're 100% diverse.
That's right.
So we did grow, and Melanie has been just unbelievable on our team. I mean, she came in and she was able to learn this stuff really quickly, which is great, and so that also goes to show how the platform is, and your training and all of that information that's out there, that someone who has no idea, like me, going into it the first time, learning how to do Neota, and then bringing somebody on, a couple years in to say, okay, here's how you can do these things. And she was really able to get up to speed very quickly. I do credit that to your training, but also, I mean, obviously Melanie is very intelligent and is very good at, figuring this stuff out. She's turning red, like the fire. But it really has been, it's been great because we've been starting to do a lot of various different projects, a lot of more complex stuff. And then as your platform continues to evolve and develop, we're utilizing those tools. Maybe not as quickly as you guys are developing them, but we're trying our best to start implementing new aspects of the platform, specifically your workflows portion. So I think we've been doing a lot of internal applications, some client-facing applications, but really it's about streamlining a lot of our internal processes currently, especially after COVID.
And just to piggyback on that, I'd say like with part of the starting out, with having Neurologic, I think it took a little while to build some confidence in the platform and confidence in working with us on projects. And then it kind of spread by from word of mouth. And I say probably transitioning between a lot of surveys too.
Yeah, people love using Toyota for a survey. I don't know why.
Yeah,
but,
we're over here like we'd like to do something fun.
Yeah,
we'll do this. No, it's very you can do. It's easy enough now to do the really basic things quickly, so that's nice. But like Stephen said, as Neota is changing, we're also able to sort of take it from automating a document to automating a step of a process to designing a process and automating that. So I think that's been really useful. And when we did this, when we told Bill, I had to throw this in here, when we had told Bill Cook the name of the chat today, he was kind of like, now are you citizen developers or are you like developers? And we kind of had it, and that was, I think that's a good thought, that's a thought-provoking question. Like, did we become, because I think I used to jokingly say like fake developer. Yeah. And then now it's like, are we real developers? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's the same thing. I think we've learned to think like developers through the platform. And I think that is helpful. And I think when we were looking for someone like Melanie to come onto our team, we were thinking the same thing, is I don't need someone who can do all of these things.
Right.
I need someone who has the aptitude to learn how to do these things. And we found a great person in Melanie, because she does absolutely have the aptitude. Oh. I think that's the key.
It's basically this.
It's like a love
about me.
Yeah, it's like a love test.
But also, I'm gonna have to compliment you now. But also, I think part of the concept of being a citizen developer is that when you're not a traditional developer, you have these other skill sets that a traditional developer probably doesn't have. And like for me, writing. And so it's like, I'm able to, it's like, I'm able to maybe write a lot of language, to write some of the, the bodies of emails and things like, and throw that in. And that's a big time saver when we're working on projects. And it's something that the stakeholders that we work with, like a lot. And with Stephen has a great attention to detail. And he also has a great eye for the user experience and for graphic design and knowledge of business processes.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's really important to note.
Yeah, and you really touched on something there. I think there were quite a few things in there. One would be, that confidence that you spoke of sort of, are we going in the right direction? Now, if we take the technology side of things and just move it over here, we're still confident in this space that you're putting things out there that are interactive and engaging and catch some eyes and are useful. And I would say in terms of like, the title, it's we're you've been able to take the technology and leverage something to get things out in the world. So of course you're developers, so you're product developers, right? And I think that's something that gets lost, that we try and talk about in the Neota University in our workshops and things, is that, I think it's somewhat unappreciated a bit, the amount of work it takes to prepare for something. Putting it in the technology and having the right tool to get that out there, great. There's so many vendors, including Neota and a whole bunch of stuff, but there's also the element of packaging that, and like you said, Melanie, presenting it in a way that's engaging, the writing part of it, and Stephen's strengths, which are, the user experience, that it would build empathy and trust and all of those things. That I would definitely say that you're developers, because you are creating things, and you're creating things that people are using. So for sure. Actually, I'd like to sort of piggyback on that and ask, so in your journey of citizen development and in learning, any tips and tricks along the way? Any best practices that you both use that have really helped you out?
Yeah, and some of these will say that we've had to learn the hard way, because being a non-traditional developer or a citizen developer, some of those things you're not that used to doing. Testing, maintenance. I mean, there's just things like that weren't part of our, our everyday workload. And then, okay, when you have a few apps, but then when you have a lot of apps, now you've got to try to figure out a way to be more structured and organized with it. So I think having some sort of, having some structure to the way that, and carving out time for maintenance and for testing is really important.
Yeah, it's a huge portion of it, for sure.
Yeah, and it's like, you think, what did you say? You said the part about time, because if you think it takes an hour, tell someone it takes 3.
Tell them it takes 3, yeah. Because, just to kind of piggyback, it's we learn the hard way. We sit and they say, oh, I need to make these kind of changes, or can we make these additions? And the time frame doesn't change, the deadline doesn't change, and so you're saying, oh, well, yeah, I can get that done in an hour. Don't say that out loud. Say it in your head.
I mean, you could,
but then give yourself a little bit of a buffer.
If nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
And if nothing goes wrong and everything's exactly the way in your mind you think it's going to work, then yeah, you could. But does that ever happen? No. So I think I'm going to set this, if there's a takeaway, I'm going to say plan for the unexpected.
Correct. Yeah, and we've learned that. Melanie on our team and coming on our team, we really started mapping out ideas. More so documenting those kind of things, and we need to do more. And we do.
Documenting is a good best practice that we aren't great at either, because it's hard when you have so many things going on. But documenting as you go along is a big time saver.
Right. Exactly, and also when we have a small team. It's hard, and you're getting more and more projects, and then one person comes in and says, hey, I want this, can you give me this? And yeah, I can get it to you by tomorrow, but I'm gonna have to drop everything else to do that. So then it's weighing out what takes priority. But I think what we have been working on, and we will continue to work on, is the planning aspects, writing documentation, having that information available to reference, to also push back on our stakeholders, to kind of say, hey, this wasn't in what we agreed upon. This has got to be something that is a version 2. If you want to get this out by next week, this is going to take us X amount of time to do. And we're not going to be able to do it with, again, like she said, testing and making sure things are working and all of the different
we made it look too easy in some cases. You do. Yeah, we're just too great at it. No, but like you go, okay, yeah, we can do this, and then someone's like, well, can it do this? Yeah, it can, but like here is what that means for the project. Like this is this is the chunk of time it's going to take. This is, if we do this, we're not going to be able to do that, and really educating the other stakeholders about some, about what resources and time are needed to make something happen, because and it's nothing bad about the stakeholders, but they don't know what goes into some things, and you don't expect them to unless you tell them. So
It's magic
I think that
sometimes.
all goes back to communication. Yeah, it's magic.
Yeah.
Let's
But
say
you know, that's,
go ahead, Stephen. Yeah.
go ahead. And
No,
I
no,
was
go
just
ahead.
going to say, I mean, that's kind of what we've come to at this point is, you know, really creating boundaries for ourselves in the development space, just because we are getting more and more requests, and it's hard to prioritize. So it's a great idea to plan, have documentation, to really create a timeline for yourself that's realistic for yourself. It may be difficult in that the deadline isn't going to change, or they have a hard deadline, but you know, you can at least give them realistic expectations of this is going to take some time to do. So please be patient while we go through it. But and then I would honestly say best practice is if you can get people to test it for you, because as the developer, you are the person creating it. You're so close to it. You have no idea what's broken. You go through your scenarios, but then somebody else, the actual end user does something you never thought of, and it's broken, and you're like, that doesn't work for me. Like, what happened? I never, and then, I pushed this, or I didn't do this, or
why did you push that?
Why did you do that?
We definitely couldn't ask you to push.
When there's a button, you're going to push it.
Yeah, exactly. And, so I think that would be, the planning, and also having a small group. It doesn't have to be a huge group, but just at least a group of people that will dedicate a little bit of their time to test it. Don't just click next and just say everything looks good. I'd like really fill it out and try it.
I think that's part of the saying what resources are needed. And then part of that is like, we need somebody from, if we're like, because we've been collaborating with like other teams, accounting, a lot of internal departments, and like it helps if somebody on the other team is designated to take ownership of the projects too, because then they're going to be there saying, hey, I've lined up these people to test, and they know the best people to test. I mean, we know people within the firm, but we have 19 offices, and we've all been working remote for a while. I mean, we know people, but we don't know necessarily always the best people. So I think that's helpful. Oh, and I did want to throw in one little tip.
Yeah, please.
Since this is best practice.
Of course.
Before I forget, I wrote down to say it, but having language like throughout, especially with the workflows, is really good. But so like the language for like on-screen language and email notifications, subject lines, like body of emails, like when I'm getting feedback on that, I do all of that in Microsoft Word. And that's so much easier than waiting till it's in Neoda and then going, okay, did I change it in this place or that place?
But you've
and
got
I
all
just
the
think
copy ahead of time. It's here. I'm going to place it in. It's been messed with a little bit.
And that's something you can do during not downtime, but during time when like your brain's not working at full capacity. Do the, you know what I mean? Like something like that, like,
do the softer parts.
The softer parts. Yeah. Or you're at a lull in the project where one of the stakeholders is out of town or something like that. And you're like, okay, I have this week. Well, let me go ahead and I know I have the link. Let me go ahead and craft the language, get those documents out, get them in review, so that's something I can just plug in. There's going to be last minute changes, but if you have that prepared ahead of time, it's just so much easier.
Awesome. Yeah.
And our last tip.
Yeah. Please go ahead. Go. Yeah, these are great.
Last tip. Hold on. I don't think I read this. Take a walk. That was good.
Take a break,
fresh air, clear your head sort of thing. Yeah.
I can't even tell you how many times Melanie and I have been on the phone, and she's just like, I can't, we'll both be going, I can't figure it out. Why is it not working? And we both turn, we say to each other, like, you got to stop. Take a stop.
Move away.
Just stop.
From the screen. Yeah.
Walk away. Deal with it tomorrow, or deal with it in an hour or so. Just clear your head, because you can stare at that screen and just not know where it went wrong.
And it's not going to solve itself. So it's just, you need fresh air.
Yeah. I think that's a really good thing to remember. And try not to best of your ability, put yourself in situations where you don't have that little bit of time you can do. Because, a deadline is a deadline, but you can only make yourself think so hard.
Those are amazing tips. I think those are the types of things where, like you said, that's the type of experience that you only get from doing it the hard way, or sort of these are the things that make it work. So thank you for sharing those. Those are awesome.
Good. And hopefully some people that are listening will benefit from that. But I mean, some of it's it's very like obvious, but it's also not, because you just have to remind yourself.
Yeah, sometimes you forget, right? Like you said, when you're in the thick of it, you're underwater. Yeah. And actually, I wanted to sort of just talk about, you had mentioned that, as things are going through the funnel, these are ways to manage expectations. And, when you really drill into something, just wanted to sort of get an idea as well of how things get in the funnel, like how you process the ideas. Do you go out seeking use cases? Do people come to you? Is there sort of a formula you use that helps, maybe someone has a broad idea, but maybe someone has flow charts and the language already built, is there any special sauce you use to sort of craft the ideas or create your pipeline?
COVID. Unfortunately, I'll just say this, and it's not unfortunate, but I mean, it's great for us, but COVID changed everything for us. Working from home changed everything for us. When we were starting out and doing a lot of this stuff, we would seek people out.
Yeah, we
would ask them, hey, is there anything we can do to help you, improve your workflow or automate anything? And people are like, I'm good. And then, we were home for 2 weeks, or we were supposed to be home for 2 weeks, and now we're running on 2 years, almost 2 years. And, and that just changed everything, because they needed to do things online. They needed to gather information in a seamless way that they can get it in the package that they needed it, without doing the stuff that they would normally do. They couldn't go around offices and ask people, what do they think? We need to send these things.
And if you work in a law firm setting, then you know that, like, more than any place, I think there's a lot of still writing, talking, going, and there's nothing, like, I see the benefit in that too. But when you can't do those things, we were lucky that we already had that knowledge, that we already had Neota. We were already using it. We already had ideas. We already had like a solid understanding of it. So when we had to come up with some sort of quicker solutions, at least we already had that going. I think Stephen had said, like, oh, if they had chosen, now I wasn't part of the team when they chose Neota. I mean, I was part of the firm, but not part of the team. And I think if they had chosen something else, would we have been able to do as many things as we needed to do with it? And what would have the solution been? I mean, so it was, it was good that we found ourselves in the position that we already had this tool that we knew how to use and could help people, because otherwise it was dark times.
I don't know how. Again, that's true. At this point right now, we're being asked, hey, can you do this? Oh, we need this. If it's a simple application like a survey to collect data from a larger group of people. If we're doing, during COVID, we did a health survey, so that everybody on the firm had to fill out a health survey in order to actually go into the office. We started doing a vaccine reporting application. Melanie's worked on a work from home request form, so everybody is submitting requests to work from home for
that's a workflow with an approval process.
And then we've also done, Melanie worked very hard on a business generation credit application where, the attorneys can allot the amount of credit they want to give to other attorneys that work on a client matter. And that's all automated through the workflow, and they can do it themselves, and they get to see all of that information. We've connected Neota to some on-premise SQL databases.
That was a big step for us to be able to do future projects.
Huge. And we use that now for, we're at this moment converting most of our internal applications to single sign-on, and we're pulling all of that that data using you know, our own internal database and running it across the Neota app, so it automatically knows who the person is. And so that's been very, very helpful. And so a lot of the projects are just kind of coming. You know, we're not really soliciting anything at this moment. And we probably aren't going to solicit projects until the project starts dwindling down a little bit, so we have a little bit of time.
But the plan also too, and like, I don't know if we mentioned at the beginning, but the plan was kind of with Neologic was to sort of empower people on other teams to get them to, you know, sort of like us being, what's the word for it? Not like training them, but it was
maybe the subject matter experts of Neota that they can lean on while they're learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Like, yeah. So, and I think that's all. I still think that's a good strategy. And I do think that when we work with certain teams, we go, okay, that person I think has an interest and aptitude for it and would be really good for Neota. Like, how can we get that person started with some training? And, you know, I think for them to be able to come into one of the apps or the workflows that we've built after doing it for a while, they're going to have like at least the basic understanding to know what's happening. So just getting other people that have that basic understanding, I think is going to be something that we see as like a long-term plan to continue using Neota Logic. I think that's going to be the best strategy for us. Because like I said, I mean, 2 people are not going to be able to do everything.
It sounds like with the stack that's lining up of use cases for sure, but hey, that's a good problem to have. Yeah. But thank you both so much. You know, I think this easily could be a 2-hour fireside chat. You know, there's so much to dig into.
How long has it been?
It's been the time.
Oh,
yeah, we're hitting. But that's fantastic. I think there's a lot in here to dig into, whether you're a builder and these are other tips, you know, other pain points you're feeling or other solutions you're looking into, or a decision maker on how to work pipeline or fit Neota into your tech stack, or just anyone that's looking to, you know, exercise a part of their brain they might not have had a chance to in the past, which is building something and putting it out there. I think this is definitely a testament to that. So thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you so much, Melanie. This has been super.
Yeah, and if anyone's listening has any questions, I was going to say, we got a lot of, the last couple of times that we've done presentations with you guys, people have, you know, contacted us directly, and that's fine. We'd take on questions.
Yeah, happy.
that we have that we would know answers to.
Yeah, no.
That's why you're experts. You are developers now. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
For sure. Well, I can't thank you enough, and thank you everyone who's joined us today and the rest of the Neota network. You know, there's great content to restream, and we've definitely ended on the high note here. So. Thank you again, Stephen. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate it a lot. And thank you to everyone.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, we'll see you all next year. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Cheers.